What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Week 5 episode of Frontier League Sports Live. I'm your host, Dylan Funk. We had more great action around the league last week, including the Tonganoxie Chieftains winning their second straight game in our Frontier League Sports Live Game of the Week matchup. We have a loaded slate of games coming up this week across our Varsity Sports Live networks. But first, let's recap all the action that you may have missed in Week 4. We started the week with a boys soccer matchup between the Louisburg Wildcats and the Baldwin Bulldogs. 2 goals were all that were needed for the Bulldogs as they continued their great 2024 season with a 2-0 win over the Wildcats. And over in Spring Hill, we had volleyball between the Broncos and the Blues. Washburn Rural took control early and never looked back as they swept the Broncos in 3 straight sets.
And there it is.
To the action on Friday night in Baldwin City, where it was all Eagles in this one. Wellsville handed Baldwin another loss this season, 49-0. The Eudora Cardinals picked up a season-making win on the road at Ottawa, handing the Cyclones their first loss of the season, behind a potent Cardinal rushing attack and 3 Ottawa turnovers. Final score, Cardinals 24, Cyclones 21. Louisburg put a beat down on the Bonner Springs Braves in a game that was over at halftime. Just about everyone on the Wildcats scored a touchdown, including 2 from senior Miles Vose, as Louisburg wins big, 57-8. Another close game for the Cardiac Broncos as they scored to take the lead late in the fourth quarter on a Patrick Stump touchdown run as they survived the Piper Pirates 20-13 and joined Louisburg at 4-0 and atop of the Frontier League standings. And lastly, it was a lot of offense early and often in our Frontier League Sports Live Game of the Week between the Paola Panthers and the Tonganoxie Chieftains. Tongi would hold serve at home to win their second straight game behind 3 rushing touchdowns from senior quarterback Talon Langford, 42-28.
Put on the boosters.
And now our Week 5 Game of the Week matchup is a rematch from a close game a year ago, as the Louisburg Wildcats will go to Eudora to take on the Cardinals. Lewisburg didn't face much resistance last week in a blowout win at home versus Bonner Springs. The Wildcats have now won 18 straight games against league opponents under third-year head coach Drew Harding. With a perfect record at the halfway point of the regular season, the Wildcats now look to win on the road and keep their place atop of the Frontier League standings. All right, we're now joined by head coach of the Louisburg Wildcats, Drew Harding. Coach, thank you for the time today. How are we doing?
Doing good. Thank you for having us on.
Anytime. Again, thank you for the time. Congratulations. Another good start to the season for you guys, 4-0 and staying on top of the Frontier League. It was a big win at home last week against Bonner Springs to move your winning streak against league opponents as a head coach to 18 games. That streak dating back to late October of 2021. That was the last time you guys lost a league matchup, and that was against Paola. How have you been able to just continue the success in a tough league like the Frontier?
Well, I think the first thing is probably just to have good players. You know, we've been pretty lucky here the last several years that we've had some really talented players, really talented kids that work pretty hard. So that's definitely the first thing. And then I'd say the second thing is just kind of, taking it week by week. You can't overlook anybody in this league. You gotta be playing good football in order to win. And so you got to put a good week of preparation in, and then hopefully you're ready to roll each and every week.
Love that answer. The 1-0 week by week mindset. Love to hear it. So let's break down this win against Bonner Springs a little bit. 57-8. Last time we talked, it was going into that week 2 game against Paola, and you told me that there were a lot of things you liked from first time starting quarterback Alex Sopp. There were also some things you wanted to see him work on and get better at during the season. How have you seen his development come along since then over the past few weeks, and your thoughts on his season performance at the halfway point?
Yeah, I think he's starting to, feel more and more comfortable as the season's going on here. I think he's played, 2 really solid weeks in a row here. Played well 2 weeks in a row here. So hopefully he just keeps getting better and better and feeling more comfortable in the system. And he was much better this week than he was the last week. And so the goal is for him to continue to take strides and continue to lead our offense.
Yeah, even just when I've been looking over some of the clips and some of the highlights from week 1 to week 4, his growth has come along a lot. And just last week against Bonner, you could tell he was real comfortable when he was passing. He was real surgical. Had a pair of touchdown passes to Miles Vose too, who arguably in the times that you and I have talked, we've talked about a lot of players and a lot of names, and rightfully so. This is a really talented squad you guys have this year. But Miles Vose, I mean, so far, I think a high candidate for probably breakout guy of the league in 2024 so far. He's just had a tremendous start to the season. What are your thoughts of what you've been seeing from Miles so far in his production this year?
Miles is he's a great kid and he works really hard. I'm very excited to have him have this early season success that he's had. He deserves it with all the work that he puts in, and so yeah, he's been phenomenal for us. He's been a guy that we need to get the football to, and he's been pretty explosive when we get him the ball, and so if we can just get it to him with a little bit of space, he's a guy that can make some people miss and make some big plays for us, and so hopefully that continues.
Can do it on offense. Also, almost had a punt return touchdown as well. Unfortunately, got called back against Bonner, but he can do it in just about every facet of the game. And the spoils of riches continue in the backfield with Darby Van Eaton and Ashton Moore. We continue to see Ashton get more and more carries alongside Darby as the season has gone along, especially over the past few weeks. Just kind of bring us in a little bit. What's like the strategy going in about who either gets the bulk of the workload any given week? Is it something that's like instituted into the game plan during the week at practice, or is it something more when you get into the game, they're both ready to go whenever their number is called, and it's just kind of a play-by-play or a drive-by-drive, like just feel the moment as to whose number you call out there?
Yeah, I'd definitely say it's more so like the latter of what you kind of mentioned there. We feel pretty confident with both of those guys being able to carry the football, and so trying to keep them fresh. Ashton's playing on defense as well, so if we can, get Darby in there for a series and he does well, maybe he stays in. So just kind of like you said, just heat of the moment, kind of riding the hot hand, so to speak. Both of them are very good football players and can carry the football for us. And so it's nice to have for sure.
And the defense just continues to give offenses fits this season. Since week one in that win against Tonganoxie, you guys have held opponents to a combined 36 total points over the last 3 weeks. It's against Paola, Clay Center, and Bonner Springs. And they were rallying to the ball against Bonner. I mean, just suffocating them at the line of scrimmage, getting into the backfield, multiple tackle for losses. And I believe there was about close to 4 or 5 straight 3-and-outs that the defense forced as well for Bonner. They didn't even pick up their first like official first down until late in that first half or early in the second half. It was just a phenomenal outing again, and I know that's got to make you really really happy, and to know when the offense is clicking, and then also have this defense that has just been going from the get go this season.
Yeah, we talked a lot about playing a complete football game this week, this past week, and obviously this week as well. But really trying to focus on playing a complete football game and all three phases, and competing in all three phases. And I thought we took a step forward in that aspect this last week. We were able to start pretty fast, and like you said, played pretty well on offense, played pretty well on defense, and then our special teams I thought was a lot better for us as well. So hopefully, keep making strides towards playing that complete game.
So now we sit here, it's a halfway point of the regular season, at least 4-0 are you guys. And just like any great coach, you're never completely satisfied. There's always room for improvement in any aspect on the team. So as we sit here at the halfway point, what is maybe the one thing as you as the head coach, and you can grasp the straws as much as you want, or however you want to go with this, but what's maybe the one aspect of your team that you would either like to see or want to see the most improvement from over this October stretch before we get into the playoffs starting in November?
I'd definitely say it's just some mental lapses at times, and I think I even mentioned that one of the other times that we've talked previously, just cleaning up those mental mistakes. I think we've took strides to improve those, but even in this last game, we just had a few mental errors where it's like what the heck are we doing here? Things that the kids, they know what to do, but for whatever reason, it's just a play here or there where it goes out the window, and there's some confusion, and so just continuing to take strides at that'd probably be the biggest thing I would say is get to the point, kind of along with playing a complete football game, of not having any sort of mental lapse at any point during the game.
So now moving forward, you guys got a pretty good stretch of tough road tests coming up, and it starts this Friday. It's our Week 5 Frontier League Sports Live Game of the Week matchup with you guys on the road taking on the Eudora Cardinals. They're coming off of what right now is their biggest win of the season, could potentially season-making win on the road at Ottawa, handing the Cyclones their first loss of the season. And now with the win on Friday, potentially Eudora looking to propel themselves right into the mix of a Frontier League championship hunt. What is your assessment of Coach Steffen's squad this year, and how does your team match up with theirs?
Oh, they're a really good football team. Coach Steffen and his staff do a phenomenal job of coaching those guys for their system. And they run their system both offensively and defensively really, really well. So I know that they're pretty young, but when you watch them on film, they don't look young. They don't look like a young football team. And that's a credit to their coaches, and they have really good athletes. And so yeah, they're a dang good football team, and just kind of like all the teams that we see in the Frontier League, you got to be ready to play, and you got to put your best foot forward if you're gonna come out with a win on a Friday night.
Just like any given night in the Frontier League, can't overlook anybody. And like you mentioned earlier, just got to have that 1-0 mindset. Go in there, trying to get the win and move on to the next. Looking to make it 19 straight wins against league opponents under head coach Drew Harding. Coach, thank you again for the time. It's going to be a great one on Friday. Looking forward to watching it, and we'll see you there. Best of luck.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Don't call it an upset if you ask head coach Drew Steffen and his Eudora Cardinal team, as they handed Ottawa their first loss of the season. Now sitting at 2-2 at the halfway point of the regular season, the Cardinals will return home to host the Louisburg Wildcats as they look to win and propel themselves right into the mix for their first ever Frontier League title. All right, we're now joined here on Frontier League Sports Live by head coach of the Eudora Cardinals, Drew Steffen. Coach, thank you again for the time today. How are we doing?
Good. Appreciate you guys doing this. A great show, and then excited to get after it here.
We appreciate the kind words. Thank you for watching. And again, thank you for the time. Congratulations. Big road win last week at Ottawa. We saw that Ottawa team the week before that. They nearly escaped with the win at Paola. They displayed their highly explosive offense. They scored 3 touchdowns within the final 8 minutes of that fourth quarter. They were down by 3 scores late in that game. It was really, really impressive. What was the game plan last week in practice to try and slow down that high explosive offense that they have, and how satisfied were you with your team and how they stuck with that game plan throughout the win?
Yeah, I think it kind of starts and ends for Ottawa with number 4, the Sims kid. He's as good as a football player in our league. We have this year, and in many years, past. He is explosive. He did have their 3 touchdowns. I think the thing that we wanted to make sure we focused on was, if he's going to catch the football or run the football, we got to get bodies to him. He still had his 3 scores, but we were not kicking him the football. We were not going to give him that opportunity. And so, I think our kids executed. I think the big part of our effort on defense was we had 3 turnovers that were created. But maybe the most important part of that game was our offense able to sustain drives and grind them down. I think Ottawa's a team that is explosive on offense, and so if they have to play defense, which is part of the game, but they would much rather get their offense out there trying to score points. And so I thought our kids on both sides of the ball executed and did what we expected them to do.
Yeah, we'll get into some of those drives here in just a moment. So let's get into this game. Let's break it down a little bit. You guys now 2-2 on the year off the win. Last time you and I talked on the show a couple of weeks ago, you were talking a lot about the pair of underclassmen at running back, and Kalen Duncan and Grayson Moody stepping in while Errol continues to recover from his injury that has him sidelined. Moody had another great night up in Ottawa, over 200 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. Kalen Duncan had a really strong touchdown run that's been circling around on Twitter or over on X over the weekend. You even had a tweet after the win that said, "Run the rock." So it was clear you were really satisfied with the way that they were able to run the ball that night. Just tell me what you were seeing from your perspective on the sideline, and where you can see the dynamic of this duo taking this offense moving forward.
Yeah, I think, their success starts up front with our offensive line. I thought our kids played nasty. They won the battle in the trenches, and that's not just our 5 linemen. That's our tight end, that's our slots, that's our quarterback making the right reads. And so, and those two would tell you that it's easy to run the football when we're getting movement. But those two specifically, they work their butt off. We've only had Keelan for a summer. But Moody has been great the last 2 summers. He took every rep this summer at fullback as Errol was recovering from an ankle situation that he got taken care of. And so, we have a lot of confidence in those guys. They bring it every day. They ask questions. They are committed to what we're wanting to do, both in our power run game and our spread run game. And so, just they're taking the opportunity to run with it. In our offense, those guys have to be, what we call dudes. I mean, those guys have to be dudes.
So let's get into that drive you were alluding to a little bit earlier. It was that first drive coming out of halftime, right before you guys kicked the field goal. It's a 14-10 ball game. You received the opening kickoff and just proceeded to run the ball down their throats. I believe it was close to about a 7.5 minute opening drive, and then capped off with that Kalen Duncan touchdown that we just saw. So, what was the conversation like at halftime with your team? And then give me your thoughts on how the offense executed that scoring drive.
Yeah, I think we kind of found out, and we as coaches kind of always knew who we were, but I think our team finally figured that out in that first half. It was like, we're just going to chunk teams, whether it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 15, 20 yards. Like, we're just going to chunk teams down the field. And so, our guys up front, we talked about it at halftime. Our slots, just our whole offense in general, like, just keep snapping the football, getting movement up front, and attacking, whatever the play is. And so, our kids brought a lot of energy into halftime. We were down 14-10, but you could just kind of feel the mood of our kids compared to kind of their sideline. It's almost they had felt that they were losing when they were up 14-10. And so, I think as we get closer to the playoffs, November football, where it gets a little colder, and you have to run the football to be successful, I think our kids are gaining a lot of confidence that we can compete, even as young as we are, at certain spots, go compete with about anybody on this side of the state.
Yeah, it was very noticeable just going back and rewatching the broadcast and the highlights of it, that it just felt like from right out of the gate, Ottawa, you could tell the energy from the crowd and on that sideline that the wind was just taken out of their sails, especially after that opening drive touchdown in the second half. And the defense played well, did a big part of taking the wind out of the sails. Like we mentioned, 3 forced turnovers in that game, a pair of fumble recoveries, and that interception. I know you love defense, coach, so I know you had to just love to see the way that unit was going out there and playing again against one of the tough offenses, not just in
Yeah.
the Frontier League, but in all 4A.
Yeah, we started 2 freshmen at corners. Had Cy Thomas, who's going to be a really good football player for us, following 4. And I said, we think Cy is going to be really good. And I said, well, this is your chance to go prove it. Go if you can go guard 4, like, you can go guard anybody in the state. And so, I thought he did a good job. 4 had one, the post was on Cy, and there's some teaching and coaching that needs to go on with that. But he was in a good spot until he got his eyes more worried about the football instead of 4. And he's going to learn from that. I mean, he has a lot of football in front of him. But Des Hubler, another freshman, got a big interception. Brady Von Holton had that strip sack, got the ball out, and then Christian Jarrett. We work a lot. We call it actually KU drill. We got it from KU, a little perimeter run defense where we're working on the nows and the bubbles and that. And so, just to see our guys fly the football, rip that thing out, and you get on, it's huge. And so, it's like I told them yesterday in our Sunday meeting when we watched film that, we practice pursuit, every day but Monday. And sure, you can go through the motions on it, but I promise you it shows up every Friday night. And it did this Friday with getting the ball out a couple times.
And it's got to be so rewarding too. The fact that you can have so many underclassmen, so many freshmen, sophomores step into these big roles in these big time games and make those kind of plays. It's got to be really, really incredible. And you guys are going to be seeping the rewards for those for many, many years to come. It's really tremendous to see. Is it safe to say that game on Friday was that the best overall game that you guys have played this season?
I think I think defensively we played pretty good. I mean, those turnovers were on their side of the field, and so I think we were really good defensively against Spring Hill. I don't know. I think in terms of running the football, Spring Hill and Ottawa are very similar. Four is a game changer. I mean, he's the best player on any team, and um, um, so defensively, and we kind of had to do a little bit of adjustment with our front, and so we were a little slow to start. But I feel like we've put back-to-back performances together that the kids are executing, especially we keep bringing up being young, but we're asking these guys, we're not doing anything different than we've done when we've had seniors out there, and so they're having to really focus in and do their job, and they're getting it done. And so it's been fun to coach them, and I'm looking forward to another challenge with Louisburg this week.
Yeah, and a challenge right there, like you just mentioned, returning home. It's arguably one of the biggest matchups that you have probably had at Eudora as your time as head coach, and definitely in recent years. A win here could really propel you guys right into the mix for a Frontier League title, potentially the first ever brought home to Eudora as we're coming down to the October stretch of the season. Lewisburg, as we know, led by head coach Drew Harding, have not lost a league game the last 18 times. They just beat Bonner last week, a big win at home. So that's 18 straight wins. Their last league loss came against Paola back. It was late October of 2021. So it is quite an impressive streak that they are on. Give me your thoughts on this Lewisburg team and how your team matches up to them.
Yeah, I think so. Coach Hardy and I took over at the same time, and know each other, and he is good of a football coach and good as a person, and just everything about him. And he's a great guy. I love being around him. Love listening to him. Love this week of prepping to try to beat his team. Offensively, defensively, they are extremely sound. I would say they're as good as coached team as any team in the state of Kansas. Not only him, but his assistants do a phenomenal job. And so, I think it starts with 21, the Moore kid. He's really special. He's a Division I type defender, runs the ball really, really hard. They don't hide when they're getting him the ball. And then, I think number 8, the tight end, the Hobie kid, he is a machine on defense at defensive end. He shuts down a whole side of the field, just big, long, athletic, catches the ball really well at tight end, does a great job blocking. So it kind of starts with those guys, but then, number 22 is a good outside linebacker, flies the football. I think they're kind of like us in that they lost a lot of linemen. And so, we're going to have to try to see, where our strengths are, which way we're going to run the football. But they're a good football team. Quarterback does a good job, gets the ball where it needs to be, runs it hard. And then number 11, little inside receiver, he is extremely fast, and he does a good job of when he gets the football, he's electric. So we have a big task at hand, but I think our kids are excited about it and ready to go get after it.
It should be a good one. Again, the game can be viewed on Varsity Sports Live on YouTube and at our website, varsitysportslive.com. Our Week 5 Frontier League Sports Live Game of the Week matchup. Head coach of the Eudora Cardinals, Drew Steffen. Coach, thank you again for the time today. Best of luck on Friday, and we'll talk later down the road.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Should be a great one on Friday between the Wildcats and the Cardinals. As always, the game can be viewed for free right here on the Varsity Sports Live YouTube channel and at our website, varsitysportslive.com. Now let's take a look at the rest of the matchups happening this week across our Varsity Sports Live networks. Again, you can catch all of these matchups over at our website, varsitysportslive.com. Volleyball starting on Tuesday, October 1st, Ottawa at Eudora. We have boys soccer, Chanute at Louisburg, and more volleyball, Louisburg at Paola, and Baldwin at Tonganoxie. And then to Thursday, more boys soccer, Bulldogs at home, and they'll host the Eudora Cardinals, and more volleyball as the Wildcats will host the Broncos. And then to the action on Friday night, Silver Lake at Baldwin, Pittsburgh at Paola, Spring Hill at Ottawa, and Bonner Springs at Tonganoxie. And then, of course, our game of the week, Louisburg at Eudora. Be sure to like and share this episode with everyone you know, and leave a comment down below with your thoughts on the show, and subscribe to the Varsity Sports Live YouTube channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode of Frontier League Sports Live. And check out our website, varsitysportslive.com, where you can stay up to date on all the latest broadcasts and information. With Varsity Sports Live, I'm Dylan Funk. signing off, and we'll see you next week right here on Frontier League Sports Live.